Hello, and welcome to Mistworld, a post-apocalyptic world that is covered in a permanent and deadly mist. Survivors cling to remote villages and towns at the summit of mountains, connected by a fleet of powerful and fast Oracle-class airships. These airships, however, are starting to disappear, one by one, mid-flight. All signs point to a deadly and powerful adversary, and one that must be destroyed before all is lost. Mistworld is the creation of Dan Machuca and is played using the Tiny Dungeon TTRPG system. Now, settle in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Mistworld, our third episode. So glad that we have all of our players back after suffering an average of 1.3 calamities each for the past two recording sessions. We've managed to get everyone back for our third session. Now, our players are currently at the capital city of Bastion. They've been here for a few days, and as we're using the Tiny Dungeon system, basically there isn't a formal leveling up system. Instead, I've asked the characters as part of leveling up to grab an extra trait, and I thought I'd let them reintroduce the characters, explain what trait they've added on for themselves, and why their characters have grown in that direction. Starting with our Astrakhan Zell, our resident Golemancer, if you could take it away.
Sure. So I'm a Golemancer, as we just heard, and an alchemist. And this time round, what I've taken is Trapmaster, because in our last session, we ran into a couple of traps. And as someone who's interested in mechanical things and artifice and things that go bing and burr and whiz, the traps were both interesting and also quite threatening. And I felt like I should know more about them and also how to avoid them, set them, not get hit by them, apply them to other people. So it seemed like that would be an interesting trait to try for a character who's already into, robots, spiders, and dangerous things that one could throw at other people.
Excellent. And Henry Goodbarrel, what did you choose?
Well, after our previous conversation in the last battle, we had that incident where I was thinking that I had 6 health, where I do not. So, as such, I decided to take the Die Hard trait, where if I get reduced to 0 hit points, I come back on 2 hit points. I can do that once a day. So I almost have effectively 5 hit points once a day, and then less other days. But it makes me feel better as the frontline meat shield.
Yes. And are you going to be singing the Chumbawamba song when this happens?
Chumbawamba doopity armed guards. I think so, yes. It's the only way.
Excellent.
We get knocked down. Can anybody keep us down?
No, apparently not.
Our resident Coblin rigger, Mr. Whitbeer, what did you end up going with in the end?
Well, I figured because Mr. Whitbeer's supposed to be sort of around forever and so old, I actually picked up the educated trait. In this case, it's not so much educated, rather than he's been around for a long time and knows little bits of everything. Mm-hmm. So he can gain an advantage when checking to know if he knows specific information.
High wisdom, low intelligence?
No, the opposite now. He's both high wisdom, high intelligence.
He's just seen some shit.
Yeah,
much.
Basically.
And our resident pilot, Neely, what did you end up going with?
Yeah, so I'm Neely Druitt. I'm the pilot / aerial hunter kind of character. One of the other characters shared the meme in which they compared me to kindergarten cop after the last episode, because I'm turning into something of like a bossy big sister / babysitter. So I decided to cook up with the GM a bit of a mod on the charismatic trait. So I took the charismatic trait, which gives me an advantage through force of bossy character when dealing with NPCs. But we made a bit of a homebrew thing where if I do it with members of the party and I'm successful in a role, then I can give them advantage, like +1 forward on their next, if they do what I advise them or boss them to do.
That's cool.
So basically, she needs to Neely needs to give an order, and you guys need to follow it for it to work. So if you guys are like, "No, screw you, I'm going to turn left instead of right, Mum. You're not the boss of me," it won't be as effective.
I mean, it almost sounds like a assist action in some sense. It's just an assist action through orders.
Yeah, it's like a sort of like leadership,
Useful.
bardic inspiration kind of a take on it all, I think. Potentially, if you listen to me, Henry.
Yeah, but you still have to roll for it to be effective, yeah?
Yes, it is a 2d6 roll.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically that was this little addendum that we added on to make it to sweeten the pot on that one. As I said before, your guys' characters, you guys are currently in the capital of Bastion. This massive city basically overtakes an entire mountain. At this point, you guys have been here actually for about 4 or 5 days, trying to find leads on what could be taking out the Oracle-class airships. At this point, it's getting a bit frustrating. You guys kind of not being able to get much. It's not public knowledge what you're trying to find out. But you do have one lead that you guys are currently scarpering towards, which is that you have an appointment at the Athenaeum of Soraya, basically this library within the town, which is in the process of gathering all knowledge in the kingdom. So any books that have been published, they try and get a copy there. Any scrolls, they get a copy there. They don't lend anything out unless a copy has been made to be kept at the library at all times. But you guys have managed to get an appointment, managed to talk your way through, but you're late. So at this point, I will ask you, who is responsible for the lateness?
I think we can almost guarantee it'll be Henry for one reason or another. Probably he lost his monogrammed underwear this time. Usually it's his sock, but he's been actively trying to keep them. But the monogrammed underwear disappeared, and he's been arguing with the hotel where he stays because he put in the laundry service and they didn't return that underwear. So he's been demanding that they go back and check with whoever does the laundry that this underwear's his and it's specially marked so you know it's his. And I think, most people have been saying, "Hey, come on, let's go, Henry." He's like, "One moment, I've almost got this." A man's underwear is his dignity.
And what terrible shortcut Astrakhan did you try and come up with that did not work?
Well, when Henry first started yelling at the hotel staff about this missing underwear, I thought I'd send Darling to just go and find a pair of underwear and, if necessary, just retrieve any pair of underwear and monogram it for Henry. But what that means is Darling has in fact retrieved a random pair of frilly pink underwear, probably belongs to somebody else in the hotel, and has made a valiant effort for a robot that has 0 skills with embroidery and 0 embroidery thread to monogram this underwear with Henry's name, and is trying to give it to Henry while he yells at the hotel staff. I think I might have made it worse.
Excellent. And Mr. Whitbear, did you leave early to try and get there on time, or are you waiting there for this to resolve itself?
No, definitely just waiting here. I don't want to go out around the city by myself.
Fair enough. And Neely, given that you have the fleet-footed trait, once you guys are on the road, you are capable of leaving these 3 in your dust. Will you be patient and wait, or will you just leave them behind and make this appointment?
I think I sort of forcibly grab like Henry and others, scoop them up. Perhaps I even carry Henry. Still potentially wearing the wrong underwear.
Hustle.
Yeah. And drag like frog march people by their arms and like try very valiantly to like impart fleet of foot upon them. But no, I wouldn't split the party.
He's being lifted out of there. Just, this isn't over.
That makes sense because you're the only tall one here, I think. Isn't that right?
Pretty much, exactly.
Yeah, I am.
Weren't we just talking about this ability that you have to tell us what to do?
Yes,
So and unfortunately, it was unsuccessful. Clearly.
Oh, no.
I just had flashbacks of me trying to take my daughter out of the Lettuce Place Centre.
Did she lose her monogrammed underwear as well?
No.
Henry would have got advantage on retrieving his underwear had he listened to my advice, but of course he did not.
I got this.
But after some hustle and
My advice
bustle,
is that the pink frilly underwear would be quite flattering.
but
Anyway,
after some hustle and bustle, some narrowly avoided people walking around, people carrying panes of glass across the footpaths as you are unaware, barely
That
avoiding a
happens a
fruit
lot.
cart. Yes, barely avoiding a fruit cart and a cabbage cart, and you eventually arrive to the Athenaeum of Soraya. So it's this large. It used to be. It basically used to be a coliseum. It used to be used for some form of combat, but it was
Wow.
only space that they could use to hold the books that they wanted to have. So eventually, it was recommissioned and repurposed for the purpose of learning and of knowledge. Everywhere you look, there's magical types, scholars standing in corners, studying, etc. You guys eventually make yourselves down to the reception, and you see this middle-aged person. They're probably the youngest person who seems to be working there, but certainly they're not like fresh-faced and young. Then, as they come up, they introduce themselves as Simon, and how can they help you?
Well, Simon, we have an appointment to see Henry. Who are we going to see?
Oh, yeah. Well, we were going to see. That is, let me just check my notes. Daniel, who are you going to see?
So you've got an appointment to go to basically to the dragon section, to dragon research.
Okay.
So as you guys say, oh yeah, so he kind of gets all your names, looks down. Oh.
So
if
who
you
did
don't
we get
mind-
this approval from? This was our captain gave us permission to go and inspect these rules, or have we spoken to someone else?
No, one of the librarians kind of heard what you guys were after and said, "Oh, we can open up some of the books to you."
Okay.
So you
great.
guys have turned up to access that, but as they kind of look through, they kind of read the notes. They go, "Oh, just one moment. I'm sure there isn't an issue. Can I get you? Can I get you any of your water? You look like you've been running."
I mean, if you have tea, I'll happily have a sip. It's been a rough morning.
Absolutely. Just one moment, and they kind of direct you guys to a bench off to the side. They motion to some workers and us and pass on some orders. And after a few moments, some tea, lukewarm tea, turns up. It looks like it's been kind of hastily brewed and passed on to you.
Oh, thank you. He just looks absolutely horrified at the quality of this tea.
It's
It has
no
been in the
bueno.
same room as a leaf.
I love leaf juice.
After about 20 minutes, time passes. You guys see what looks like a squad of the town guard coming in and through. And Henry, you recognize the person at the front as being your rather heroic brother, Dimitri.
But I think he'll just jump off the seat and turn around, gently place the cup of lukewarm tea liquid on the chair and run towards Dimitri. Dimitri, hi! And wave his arm and look like an idiot in front of everyone.
And so Dimitri, did you want to describe Dimitri? What would he look like compared to Henry? What would be the physical differences between you two brothers?
I think for a halfling, he's tall and somewhat muscular, but he's not so jacked that it's off-putting. He holds himself well. He's been shining armor. Doesn't wear a helmet, so everyone can recognize his face, as he's well known throughout the world, really.
Is he like a fooling?
He's basically
Three-quarterling.
His father was a man. My father was not. my father was two halflings on top of each other.
That's kinky.
That's normally how it's done. Yes,
It is. Yeah. And so this basically every bit slightly better than Henry version of Henry. So just take Henry and buff him up by about 40%.
All right.
That's this guy.
Does he have a cool shield now?
I don't think he does. He's just got dazzling armor.
Yeah,
He's
dazzling
got one
armor
on top
and the equivalent of to what would a human be would probably be a longsword, but in his hands it's like a massive broadsword.
Yeah. And it's I think he's probably glittering in mithril, just he's exorbitant to the point where that's the only off-putting part of it. It's just this guy has money and likes to show it off.
Goes up to you. Yep. He comes up to you, goes, looks at you, says, "Oh, you're here.
I am,
hey, brother."
You don't seem too surprised to see me. I mean, I've been on the other side of the world, and just by happenstance, here I am. It's so good to see you. And he kind of hugs his brother, and his head comes up to just under his chin.
So he gives you the kind of half-hearted pat. Like, look, I'm sorry. I am here for work.
Oh yes, sorry. Yes. Then he'll take a step back and kind of brush himself off and give this, awkward salute as if he knows no idea what he's doing.
So he continues on briefly, but then after a moment he leans back, whispers something to his men. They continue on, and he turns around. But do you have a moment to talk in private before I keep on going?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not going to interrupt your work, is it?
Not at all. And he looks at the rest of you, at Neely and Astrakhan and Mr. Whitber, and at one point, I'm hoping that I'm not giving him a bad personality here, Henry. He gives you all finger guns. Like, I'll bring him right back to you.
No, I think that's cool. He does it in a way that's cool.
There's cannons, there's pistols, and if there's pistols, there's finger guns. That's my understanding of fantasy technology when I do this.
Yeah, if anyone else did it, it would have been lame. But when he does it, it just pulls it off.
It works. So he pulls you aside and says...
Neely instinctively hates him, though, and is glowering at him. Like, just the way he's talking to his brother is rubbing her up the wrong way.
Oh, you haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah, I've seen that expression on his face. It's not one of respect.
So Henry drags you across and says, "Oh, Henry, I know you've been traveling, but I would have thought you'd have gone back to Mum and Dad by now."
Oh, no. I was on one of the big blimp ships, and then they asked me specially to do this special assignment where he kind of hushes down. We've been trying to track down whatever's taking down the sky blimps. We think it might be a dragon.
Well, I don't want my little baby brother getting caught up in that kind of nonsense.
No, I can do it. I'm a lot stronger than I was before, and pretty soon I'll be as strong as you. I mean, look, and he kind of reaches for his shield, and he's like, "Oh no, I left it back in the hotel. I have a really, really cool shield that they all made me in honor of taking down a sky squid."
So at this point, he starts kind of, "Yes, I'm sure you do, brother." And he kind of gives you that shoulder squeeze that big brothers can do so horribly.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, it's I mean, it wasn't just me. They helped as well, but we did it. It was pretty big, and we turned its beak into a gift for me.
I'm sure, but I hope you understand. It's not just about you, and obviously, I'm concerned about you. It's also about Mum and Dad, and somebody being there to look after them. You've always been so good at being around the house with your little crafts and your little joys that you bring. If you're not there, who's looking after Mum and Dad? I'm out here doing the hard work, and you're off on a little trip.
Yeah, look, Mum and Dad, they didn't really approve of my going out. I'll admit that. Have you spoken to them?
Well, I haven't managed to get a letter from them for a while. Mail's been slowed down fairly considerably, but
I hear that the most recent third-party contract has been making a lot of stops. I can't really trust anyone these days.
Well, it's these ships going down there is affecting everyone, but. Look, Henry, I'm glad you've had a bit of excitement, and I'm glad you've had a bit of fun, but I really think that your best bet would be to go home, to stay safe, and make sure that our parents are being looked after.
But I don't want to go home. I want to be like you.
And maybe when you're a bit bigger, that will be an option for you. But it takes a lot of hard work. I don't think you'll be able to make it this time. You do what you're good at. You do your craft. You do your little embroidery. You keep mum and dad happy, and that'll be your way of being a hero to me.
Yeah.
Are the rest of us hearing this conversation?
He's pulled him aside, but the body language, I think, is very clear.
And yeah, Henry's just a hero to you, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, I think
it'll be good for you.
Oh, okay,
I think that when Henry's shoulders are starting to slump, I'm not exactly sure what's happening with your body language, Henry, but
yeah, he's definitely disheartened. Is probably the you would have only ever seen this expression when he's pissed himself.
Yeah, which happens all the time.
It does. Yeah, it's well done. This face expression.
So Nelia has kind of moved and is now standing shoulder to, well, perhaps hip to shoulder with Henry, and is glowering and looming over Dimitri.
Yeah, I think
I'm not saying anything, but just like intimidating him.
I think when Henry notices Nearly there, he kind of wipes this, the tear from his eye that's forming. Oh, hey, Nearly. Yeah, I was just talking to Dimitri here about what hero stuff is like. Good talk, Dimitri. I'll go. I'll write to mum and dad. I mean, they hopefully they're okay. I mean, would have been bad if something had happened to them.
Well, the sooner the better, little brother. You do what you need to do. Whatever you tidy up, whatever mess you've gotten yourself into, and then find. Do you need money to get back to mum? I can spare some coin.
No, I've got money. I've been doing pretty well so far, but no, it's okay. I should let you get back to your work.
So as you walk away, he turns to Neil and says, "Oh, so you've been traveling with my brother, have you? I'm glad that he's got some people to look after him." Now,
yeah, he's been looking after us. I don't know quite what you think of your brother, but I think you might be underestimating him.
Oh, I don't know. Every time I look at my little brother, I think of this rosy-cheeked little chap who couldn't climb up an apple tree without a boost.
Yeah, you look a bit like that to me yourself. And I stand up like slightly on the balls of my toes so that he looks very short right now.
He is unaffected.
Yeah.
He's armed and armored, shining metal. He's got a badge. He's got a sword. He's here on official business. You're a civilian.
I think everyone's got a big brother like you, Dimitri. Why don't you just leave Henry alone?
Oh, I'm just looking out for my family. I hope you understand. Now, my brother said something about you come here to do some research. I understand.
That's correct.
Now, look, the research section today will be closed, but and he kind of drops his voice a bit more. I can let you in the next day. I can let you in tomorrow once I've captured some thieves, okay? But just keep that in the down low. All right, I need to go now. And he kind of salutes, turns on the spot, and follows the last of his men out the room.
I think at this point, Henry would make it back to his chair and kind of pick up his lukewarm tea that's gotten slightly colder and just think to himself, I guess this is the tea I deserve. And then slowly start sipping it a bit deeper than he did before.
So were Dimitri and the guards heading towards the area that we were trying to do research in?
That's correct.
Can I send Darling to just kind of follow them and see what they're doing?
Sure.
Cool.
So roll stealth because they are looking for, as he intimated to Nearly, they're actively looking for clues. So they'll notice a spider wandering around seemingly at random.
All right. So I think Darling gets advantage on stealth.
Yes, because everything that I ask that robot to do is done with advantage. I'll
So
get you, yes.
That's 3 6-sided dice.
3 6-sided dice, and you need to get a 5 or a 6.
I have rolled 2 6s.
Nice.
So
Damn.
While this is all happening, you've got that little. When you check the recording back later, they seem to be investigating. There's a large stand in the research section, and when I say stand, I mean something big enough to hold a throne. Like it's a very large, clear section, and they seem to be investigating around that. Not forensics, like we're not talking fingerprints or anything, but certainly looking around for scuff marks, things like that.
Interesting.
All right, so Neely, you were going to say something, I think?
No, I was just interested in sending Darling in as well, so that's great.
Yeah, cool. After a while, so Simon, the person who brought you to tea, comes back and says, "Look, I'm sorry, but there's been an incident in the research section. It's closed for today. I can try and rebook you in. At this point, I'm not sure when it will be available to the public again. But if you try and come back tomorrow, I can try and fit you both in."
I heard something about thieves. Would you be interested in some more help in catching them?
We've already got the town. We've got some of the very best of the town guard on the case already. At this point, we don't need any private investigators. However, if in the future I might be able to ask for your help.
Okay.
If you'd like, though, you're welcome. What I can do, however, is I can invite you all to have a quick repast in our cafe as a short apology for wasting your time this morning. These things happen, as you can imagine, but I hate for you to have come here for nothing.
Was this tea made in your cafe?
Yes, and it all comes from the same kitchen.
It's pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't mind having, a meal with you guys. You don't know when the last one might be.
I feel like maybe Henry could have a look at your kitchen. He's really very good with everything edible.
All household things I'm pretty good at, cooking, cleaning, embroidery,
killing monsters.
But by all means, I'll let the chef know. And yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to have a peek inside if you'd like, Henry.
Thanks. And Henry will take himself over to the kitchen rather sadly.
All right. So basically, it's a canteen type area. So there's a whole bunch of benches everywhere. Some people are coming by just taking like sandwiches to go back to their own research areas. When you get behind the canteen, it's fairly rudimentary, Henry. But is there something that you'd like to try and whip up?
I think he would like to cook his halfling-y type meal that the halfling cooking. Just spend an hour using what ingredients he can to make the best meal he can for his friends, because he's trying to think whether, how many more of these he has left.
Sure. Well, do you have any idea what that might be?
I really hope there's a pie involved with fruit. I'm thinking apple, but there's no apple, so he's made some other orange and pecan pie.
Yeah, absolutely. So you made this orange and pecan pie. I won't make you roll. This is just you kind of whipping up something together. It's, that if you had proper ingredients, you could make something spectacular, but you're only a couple of steps below that, right? Like, it's really good. You managed to make a little design on the top. There's some sultanas all the way through, just for a little bit of pop in between. The pastry is just that you managed to just get that just perfect, which is unusual because it's a weird oven, and ovens are hard to measure if you're not used to them all the time in these kind of scenarios.
He's sitting there thinking to himself, that pie crust dough and embroidery silk, they can shape the same way. It's surprisingly easy.
Mm.
Some little hands, like you've got to have little nimble hands. You make pastry so fine.
When you're trying to thread the needle and your entire hand can fit through the eye, it's just so much easier.
Now, for the rest of you, while you guys are kind of in the canteen, it just seems to be every day. Nobody seems particularly fussed or stressed. But is there anything that you want to do while you're in there, while you're waiting for that period, or are you just kind of watching the world go past?
No, Mr. Whitbeer is just sort of anxious to get going.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't want to be. Should get back to the ship, if we're not allowed in the library here.
Fair enough.
I might see if there's anyone who looks like an engineer or like they're looking into anything engineering-ish, and just go randomly talk to them, see what they're studying or working on.
You recognize an engineer by their extremely classic steampunk goggles that all people in their profession must wear. You see a bunch of them. They're talking about some form of a problem they're having with pressure release on the steam engine that they're working on at the moment. Basically, they're trying to make the equivalent of a hot water system, but to cover a larger area. So, is that something that you try and help with? Is it just an interesting problem?
I mean, I try to help in the sense of giving some kind of useful or perhaps ridiculous suggestion, I suspect, depending on whether I roll well or badly.
Please roll 2d6. It's not technically a Golomancer thing, so I can't give you advantage.
Obviously,
Not Golomancer, but if I can figure out how to make it work, I can make a giant city-sized golem, potentially, one of these days. That's a 2 and a 1.
Unfortunate. You're just as stubborn as they are. So the problem is either the pipes are too thin or the reserve is too large, but there just doesn't seem to be a way to resolve the issue and get the power that you're looking for.
What we need here is a dragon. to superheat the water so that the steam just has more pressure behind it.
As you
only there was access to a library.
Engineers kind of say, "Oh, well, they're all on the other side of the continent. We can't. It's not like we can just capture one."
Have you tried bribing one? Like, leave a trail. What do dragons even eat? Leave a trail of whatever dragons eat and encourage it to just move to where you want it to be. How do you know they're all on the other side of the continent?
Well, that's the way that most of them have been. We've kind of taken over our side here on the east, and they're over there on the west, and it's been handy that way because if they were living among us, they'd be potentially eating. They would be starving. They'd be eating us. They'd be attacking us. So by them having one side to themselves, they've been able to grow their own way.
What do they eat over there?
Well, I've always hypothesized that they eat gold. There's always these stories about how they collect it. Other people believe that they use gold in some way to be able to hatch their own eggs. We're not really sure, but all we know for sure is that they seem to collect the stuff as much as they can anyway. Maybe we could line the trap with some gold. Maybe that will work. Maybe you're onto something.
Maybe line the trap with gold and get a dragon to lay an egg in it, and then you hatch the baby dragon. So the only lair it ever knows is the place where it can superheat your steam for you. It concerns me though that dragons might be starving somewhere close enough that they could get to us, because dragons don't exactly farm. And if they did eat gold, they probably don't mine either.
The other problem with using baby dragons is that when they are hatched, they're not far off being as smart as an adult dragon. It doesn't take them very long to get their wings under them, so to speak. So while, again, there might be that option of having an egg, you have to be prepared to be able to hold something that's smart enough to work its way out. It's an interesting idea.
It may need more thought. Especially if they do eat gold. The other option, the other problem there is the cost ratio. Then you would just hire somebody to pull on a pump for the same cost. Possibly.
At this point, that conversation peters out. Mr. Whitber, you're just kind of anxiously looking out the window, looking for any signs of other goblins.
Yeah, just waiting, just hurrying everyone on as they eat. It's like, come on, it's time to go. Like probably get back to the ship, make sure it's everything's in order there. Something hasn't happened to the ship, but in dock.
Just 5 more minutes. The pie's almost done. You sit there looking at it, cooking through the oven, thinking the secret ingredient is tears.
And,
you got to balance like the sweet and the salt. That's it. Add the salt component.
What it's all about.
And Neely, for yourself, one thing you do notice on the walls.
What do I notice?
You see, not common, but a world map. And one of the points that you see is a point of tragedy for yourself. If you want to go into that or not, if you're just looking at that particular location. But it kind of reminds you of this is where this happened.
Where the Amphitrite was lost.
That's right.
Yeah, I definitely don't speak about that, but there might have been a change in my expression. I have been, however, struck by the fact it seems suspicious that on the day we should have an appointment, there is a theft. And I am perhaps speaking to some of the researchers and library staff trying to find out more about this supposed theft. Is there anyone there? These engineers who know about dragons, are there the research staff who know about crimes?
No, they're on a separate area as well. What I might get you to do is I'll get you to roll a d6, and on a 6, you happen to strike up a conversation with someone who might have some information.
Yeah, I rolled a 1, so...
Yeah. As far away from that as you can. So basically everyone's like, we hadn't heard anything. We saw the town guards arrived, and I know they closed off the research center, but we didn't know why or what was going on.
Okay, then I would just listen to the conversation about dragons.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So you guys, after a few minutes, red-eyed and sniffling a little bit, Henry comes out with his orange and salt and
pecan
pie. Pecan.
Yep.
Orange and pecan pie.
Hope you guys like it. Sorry, there was so many onions in there.
It was
onion, orange, and pecan pie. That's a new one, Henry, but I'm sure it's going to be delicious.
Yeah.
Sorry, you might not taste the onions. It was really subtle.
But it was good.
That's very good.
A bit soggy. As you guys leave the FNAM, you guys are working in a group. Miss Whitber, you see up ahead a goblin wearing the overalls or the uniform of Skitsbro's Goblin Bakery and Confectionery, purveyors of finest breads, cakes, tarts, and sweets. So this is the cafe, the bakery that we saw last time, that right at the end, that was at the entrance of the airport as you guys had landed. They are holding a rolling pin and seem to be looking around.
I know a bad goblin when I see one, but guys, we should probably take the alleyway down this way and avoid the road here. That goblin's looking for trouble.
So this is right after I've taken out the pie, or is it Oh,
you guys have left. So you guys have had the pie. You've left the library, and as you guys have been walking along, Miss Whitber's seen this goblin wearing this uniform.
They probably heard about your crimes against pastry there, and they're looking for you, Harry.
Oh, okay. I can't get in trouble right now. Quick, let's hide this way. And he points down the alleyway you mentioned.
Yep. So you guys take off, then start walking down the alleyway. Just walking at this point, I'm going to assume. You come out onto another large street. There's a few people around. Seems pretty quiet. Are you going to continue on home?
Yeah. From all my variety of travels, I want to just do a little bit of a knowledge check here, so I can find the sort of the quickest and safest way back to sort of the ship.
I'll give this an educated roll, so 3d6.
Yep.
Yep.
2 4s and a 2.
So you make a right turn. You're at least confident you're going in the right direction. Whether or not there'll be a T intersection or what have you, you're not sure. But as you do start reaching towards a T, you see another second goblin wearing the uniform of Skitsbro's Goblin Bakery and Confectionery, purveyors the finest breads, cakes, tarts, and sweets. This one's holding a ladle and is looking around, scanning the crowd.
Does Henry see them?
I'm going to say that at this point, Miss Whipper's in the lead at the front of the group.
That's fine.
It's up to him if he calls them out to you or if he's just like, oh, actually, guys, let's go left or whatever they want to do. Mr. Whitbeer, what's your call?
Henry, I think they're after you, man.
Oh my God, you've got to save me. I can't go to prison. I'm too pretty to go be in prison.
Nearly, I think these goblins are after Henry here.
Oh God,
right.
Nearly struck with shock. Oh, what do we do?
So another laneway?
I think that might be safest.
Okay.
Mr. Whitber, you're a goblin. You speak goblin. Maybe you could talk to them?
No, you don't want to mess around with the with the bakery guild, especially around here. That's why I don't deal with goblins. They're just not trustworthy characters. So yeah, I wouldn't want to. You don't know what they're like when you come to different cities and stuff. That's why I spend all the time on the ships.
Just a reminder, you are talking about yourself, effectively.
Yeah. No,
okay.
You can't. Yeah.
All right. So down another laneway. This time you open up. It's a bit more crowded. There's a few more people here. You might be able to lose yourselves in the crowd. But sure enough, as you kind of pop out, you look towards the right, which is the direction the other goblin was. You don't see anyone there. But as you turn around left, you do see a third goblin. This one is wearing, again, the uniform of the bakery. I'm going to have to say it again, aren't I? Of Skitsbro's Goblin Bakery and Confectionery, purveys the finest breads, cakes, tarts, and sweets. And this time they are holding a whisk.
Not a whisk.
I'm going to walk over to Whisk Goblin.
We can hide in this. Look, Astrakhan's going to distract him. Henry, let's scatter into the crowd, and we'll meet back up at the ship.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you. I appreciate everything. And he, takes off as quickly as his little legs will take him.
Right. So, Astrakhan, you've been told to create a distraction. So you start walking towards this goblin. What's your plan?
I was going to walk up to the goblin with the whisk.
Mm-hmm.
And, my first question, before I even say hello, is, why a whisk? In a crowd, a whisk. What are you going to do with it? But also, which one is the finest bread, cake, or sweet?
Oh, the finest bread, cake, or sweet is the carrot cake. If you could have some cream on top, bit of sprinkles, some nuts on top, sounds amazing. But sorry, I'm looking for someone. They kind of try and scoot past you.
Is it someone that I know?
No, I don't think so. It's an old family member. I haven't seen him for a while.
Right. So
Excuse me, and they squish past again. Are you just planting yourself?
I'm just going to keep moving so that I'm in front of them.
Okay.
If you could maybe tell me a little bit about the family member, I could help you find them.
Well, short, green, old man, bit grumpy.
I do know someone like that.
Yes. Well, most people say people are like that.
Why are you looking for him?
At this point, that you hear this loud, piercing whistle. Oh, looks like it might be next street over. I'm sorry to hold you up. And they run down the alleyway you guys came in from.
I presume I've lost Henry and Mr. Whitber at this point. They've vanished into the crowd.
They've tried to vanish in the crowd. Could you both give me a stealth check to see how well that you succeeded at that?
Yep.
A 6 and a 3. Just standard check, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, 6 and 3.
I got a 4 and a 1.
Cool. So, Henry, you're so terrified. You managed to not only hide yourself in the crowd, you managed yourself to hide yourself under somebody's coat, like they've draped it over a chair, and you're like between the coat and the chair. But Mr.
I think he's under there. You know, he's like, I'm finally safe, and my God, what terrible stitching.
But at this point, Mr. Whitbeard, just before the whistle goes off, you're hiding behind a pot plant. But what you don't realize is that another goblin wearing the uniform of the bakery known as Skitsboro's Goblin Bakery and Confectionery purveyors of finest breads, cakes, and tarts and sweets was rounded the corner holding a wooden spoon and going, "He's over here!" And they give that whistle.
Fuck. I'm gonna leg it at this point, as quickly as I can, and because I have the acrobat trait, I can take an advantage for that.
No, unfortunately, that would be the fleet-footed trait. So you've legged it. Henry, are you staying put, or are you going as your friend runs away?
Yeah, I think Henry's lost him because we did separate. So he's going to hide out until he thinks that he's not going to see any more of these goblins, and then make his way back to the ship when he can.
Excellent. So you stay put. Astrakhan, you see the commotion. You see Miss Whitber with all pretense at stealth vanishing, just start hoofing it right out of this situation. Are you going to chase after them? Are you going to look around for Henry, who's clearly not with them?
I'm going to go to the bakery and order myself a piece of that carrot cake.
It is delicious. And Neely, you're having a couple of ding bells earlier. Are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm with you all.
Excellent.
I think I was lost in the crowd briefly.
That's right. So you kind of got held up, but basically every time you guys seem to turn a corner, another goblin wearing that uniform was there. And now it looks like Mr. Whitber's now being run away, and it was about to start running away. You also see Henry Goodbarrel hiding behind a chair or underneath a coat. And you also see Astrakhan with an excited look on their face, walking into a bakery and about to put an order in for a carrot cake. Is there any of those that you wish to join, or would you like to do your own thing?
I think that I would probably try to run interference a bit and try and assist Mr. Whitber in his escape. Like, oh my, and accidentally trip over goblins and, intersperse myself wherever possible.
Sure. Give me a 3d6 check as you fleet-footedly run into place.
Okay, a 6, a 5, and a 1.
Nice. So that means you've got advantage, Mr. Whitber, to run away. So you roll 3d6 to try and get away.
Oh. That's 5, and a 3.
Nice. So you start to run. You see Neely appear out of nowhere and shoulder check the goblin that was just about to start chasing after you with the wooden spoon, and you manage to, at this point, so far, get away. There's no more goblins. The situation passes. Nobody's really sure what's going on. After a while, you all regather at the inn that you've been staying at.
I think
I have my carrot cake.
Do you line up everyone is the real question.
Somewhere along the way, Henry's going to stop off for at the post office to get a letter and a stamp and things like that he'll need to send a letter to his parentals.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem at all with that. So you guys regather at the thing. Astrakhan, you've got some carrot cake. Do you pick up other things as well, or you're just after the carrot cake?
Well, I pick up a piece of carrot cake for me, and I'll probably pick up a selection of other cakes and pastries to share with my companions. I actually want Henry's opinion on all of them to see if they genuinely are the best.
Mm-hmm. So,
nice.
Henry, this is like, it's a chain, but it's a good chain. So I'll leave it up to you if they are the best or not.
Yeah, I think he'll eat them, and they are delicious, but every time he does, the question that keeps coming back is, where's the love? I mean, it's good.
Not
The
in
flavors,
retail.
the ingredients are all, it's all near perfection. I don't taste the love. And he continues eating, the pastries. I'm sorry, was this for everyone? Takes it back out of his mouth. Wow.
No,
I did not
Henry,
feel
it's
good
all
hearing
for
that.
you.
They're missing the secret ingredient of tears.
I hesitate to guess how much tears you guys have collectively imbibed at this point.
Fortunately, halfling tears are non-addictive, as far as we know.
I like the idea that if everything else that they eat other than Henry's cooking just doesn't have the same flavor, like when you get used to MSG, it enhances the flavor so much so that everything else just tastes bland.
Aww.
I feel like we've gone way too dark.
Maybe. Add some cream.
Surely there's another system where it's like you can develop the flawed trait of addicted to my team members' tears.
Wow.
I'm not willing to go down that path today.
Honestly, that sounds like the dream of every GM ever. I'm addicted to their tears.
I'm still battling a crippling addiction to squid milk anyway.
You guys gotta get that dark milk, you know what I'm talking about?
So do you guys have any questions for Mr. Whitbeer? Do you just let it slide? What's the situation?
I think once we're back,
what just happened?
Henry
You're
will...
lucky you got away, Henry.
That's it. Henry will be so thankful to everyone for saving him from the potential goblin threat. And the fact that Astrakhan went right into their lair and looked them in the eyes and ordered the pastries, he just thinks she's so brave. And that's the reason why he would never be able to stand up to the expectations that his brother thinks that he can't. That makes a sentence.
Yeah. That is the sentence that happened.
I think that Mr. Whitber's emotional, the layers that surround Mr. Whitber's marshmallowy centre don't invite a direct conversation, but perhaps later, while Henry is writing a letter home to Mum and Dad, I might talk loudly to Henry in such a way that Mr. Whitber can hear me about the importance of connecting with family, with like many meaningful looks at Mr. Whitber. Like it's a pretty thinly veiled attempt to raise the subject.
I don't think there's a veil there at all, frankly.
I love that Neely is trying to be subtle. Astrakhan doesn't actually know what the word means.
Have you the
Astrakhan is just like, hey, Mr. Whitber, I ran into somebody who looks a lot like you, and they were like, we have a family member who's kind of green and old, and it sounded like you. And why are you
saying all goblins look the same?
No, I'm saying you look like them. Why are you running away from you?
Astrakhan, that's a little insensitive to think that all goblins look the same. Thinking back to his exact thought that the guy on the side looked like Mr. Whitber. He starts overcompensating. Like, I mean, it's really not okay to just pigeonhole everyone to say that they all look the same. It's just really, it's not fair to Mr. Whitbeer or the other goblin kind. It can get you in trouble.
I've met other goblins though, Henry, and other goblins don't look like Mr. Whitber. It's just these ones that do.
Well, I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to stand here, and he walks over in front of Mr. Whitber, putting down his quill. I'm not going to stand here and have you insult Mr. Whitber right to his face.
You can sit down. It's okay.
Okay, my legs are feeling weak anyway. And then he goes back to his, little makeshift desk he's made on one of the seats. So he's kneeling down in front of the seat, writing against the soft padding. So every so often the quill goes through the paper.
Oh.
It just seemed really strange to me, Mr. Whitber, that you'd be literally running away from people who seem to think that they're related to you.
Yeah, well, I've been around a couple of times, to the Bastion before, but that's I just stopped coming here because the people kept doing that. I didn't want any business in none of these goblin things. So, city goblins, you just can't trust them.
You know that you're a goblin, right?
Yeah, but I'm an air goblin. I'm from an airship.
That's different. You can trust air goblins.
No, you can't trust any goblins. We're all equally untrustworthy.
But if all goblins are equally untrustworthy, that means you're untrustworthy, in which case I cannot trust what you're telling me, which must mean that goblins are trustworthy, and I should believe the ones who told me that they're your family and they only want what's best for you, right? That's how that works.
You're making things up.
I can clearly not take the glass in front of you.
There's no glass in front of me.
That's why I can't take it, Mr. Whitber. Were you not paying attention?
I am so confused. Henry, do you understand what's happening here? Because I don't.
Yeah, I think she's just saying that she thinks family's important.
You made him cry again.
It's good for the pastry.
So,
Is anyone got a spare piece of paper? I've ruined this one.
Can you blow your nose on the letter you were trying to... Mr. Whipper, you don't need to tell us who they are or what their relationship to you is, but can you at least tell us if they'll be causing any problems for us?
I don't want to be caught by them.
Yeah, you look pretty tasty there, Henry. Like, meat's a scarce commodity on mountains.
I am. I've had a heavy diet of sugar all my life. I must be so sweet.
No, nearly. I have no idea if they're any threat or not, honestly, but I would rather just avoid them in case.
What time of day is it?
Okay.
So it's getting to be about mid-afternoon, we'll say, just before dinner.
I think Henry will go out for more paper. Do we need anything from the store while I'm out? I'm pretty good at acquiring things that are mundane and useless, like toilet paper and ingredients.
Do you guys collectively go out? It's a nice day.
I'll go with him.
Yeah, I would go with Henry.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And then I would loudly tell Astrakhan stories about Henry's bravery while we walk. Oh, do you remember when Henry faced down that Sakai squid and such? Oh, do you remember those golems?
I hear he nearly died because he fell asleep.
I think we need to take Henry on an adventure.
Oh.
Getting milk can be an adventure if you truly believe it. Weird.
Wow.
This explains a lot.
I really want to punch Henry. It's good.
So you guys leave. You collect whatever mundanities you need.
Squilk, for sure.
Squilk.
And Pico, I'll
Paper.
continue to leave as I have done throughout the Bastion. I'll leave notes on notice boards and, public places with the stylized D and pictogram depiction with the address of the inn where we're staying.
Yep. Excellent. Yeah, you've replaced a few as well at this point. It's been a couple of days. They might have been torn up or covered over by other ones. But you managed to put those on as well. Astrakhan, was there anything else you wanted to do while you're out?
Can't think of anything in particular. I mean, I'll probably pay attention to random conversations around me, people on the street, see if there's anything that people are particularly talking about, or I don't know if they're newspapers or broadsheets that are published here, if there's anything about a robbery or a break-in at the library?
Sure. So nobody knows anything about the library. Nobody even seems to be aware that a crime has occurred at the library. They seem to be keeping that fairly closely on the wraps. In terms of what people are talking about, some of the things that are coming up is concern about how many people are coming into Bastion. They're starting to having to build extra housing, and there's just isn't the city was already full before people started migrating around like they are at the moment. So if the population gets much higher, there's just not going to be room for people anywhere at all, let alone the capability of servicing them. There isn't enough work for them. There isn't enough food for them. So how are we going to? So some people seem to be concerned about how are we going to. People could pay for a trip here, but what are we then supposed to do with them once they arrive? That's the kind of conversations you're starting to overhear.
Can I ask you again, Dan? When the captain sent us on this mission, was his intention that we might speak to like the government, or do we need to keep our mission secret because he was ordered not to do this?
He was a bit unclear himself. He wasn't sure. Basically, he was told he can't take the Hope and Grace to go and investigate. And so him sending you guys was his way of sending out something to try and get some information. He didn't. It was a crapshoot. He's got no idea if you guys are going to be successful or not. But he didn't feel like he could sit there and do nothing, which is what he was being expected to do. So if you wanted to try and approach the town council, you certainly can try. But again, it doesn't seem like people are hiding this information from you. At this point, it doesn't seem like anybody knows. You're not getting the idea it's a conspiracy at this point. On that note, as you guys are returning, something strange does happen as the four of you are almost back at the tavern. You see in what looks like a larger open square that you hadn't noticed before, a very large blue tent, like a circus tent kind of situation. The door is being held open, is pinned open, but nobody seems to be going in and out. Everyone's just walking past it. But as you three grow nearer, as you look inside, you see that there's somebody inside, and they seem to be beckoning the three of you together to come inside.
This looks shady and dangerous. I'm in.
So Astrakhan leaps in.
I think Henry, looking at her, will think, one last adventure. Let's do it. And makes his way over. Any excuse to not have to send this letter.
Yeah.
So Neely has a moment when she goes to drag them back, but then as Henry says, one last adventure, Neely remembers that Astrakhan's thought that Henry needs an adventure and decides to let it go and goes with them.
Excellent.
Because you're the best big sister ever.
The worst and most meddling.
So the three of you enter this tent. As soon as you guys enter, the flap kind of closes behind you, and you no longer hear the sounds of the traffic and the roads and the people that should just be inches away on the other side of a cloth. Inside this tent, there's rugs spread everywhere. There's large cushions spread about everywhere as well. Everything's got this like red tinge to it. But as you look up, you realize that you can actually see through the roof of this tent and up into a starry night sky, not the same time as what you left when you first came through. The only person inside the tent is a woman. She appears to be elven. They've got the large pointy ears of the Elven kind. But you've never seen or heard of one with blue skin. They appear to be middle-aged, by human terms, probably about 40 or so, but it's difficult to tell with elves because of their natural lifespan. They're just reclining, leaning up against the pile of cushions. They instruct the three of you if you'd like to join them. There's a scattering of cushions around them on the floor.
I think Henry's first inclination is to try and figure out what type of material this is, because embroidering this would be absolute heaven. So he's going to start with that and then look over at the elven woman and say, "Who are you and what is this magic?" Like gesturing towards the open sky within the tent.
So in terms of the tent itself, it's impossible to. You can't really see. It looks like it's the finest silk. Like visually, it looks like silk.
Yep.
But there's no silk, that can be so fine as to be seen through.
It's beautiful.
The cushions and the rugs that you're resting on, they're made out of velvet. They're made out of all the luxury that you can imagine.
So does she respond to my question of who are you and what is this magic?
Well, this is just my home, dear. But as for my name, you may call me Blue, which makes sense. Her skin and everything about her is that shade of blue.
You don't look sad at all.
Your parents weren't very imaginative.
You could say that. Some people have said that. How are you all? It's so lovely to see you. It's to see you.
Have we met?
I don't believe you'd say that. You could say that. Would you like some food? And she gestures to like this space, and where there wasn't food before, there's now a tray of quails, of roast potatoes, of just little entree starters that just smell so good.
Why did you bring us in here? What is it that you want?
I thought it was time for us to have a talk. I wanted to make a little bargain with you three, and I felt that this was the right time for me to enter into the situation.
Are you also looking for Mr. Whitber? Because he's really not keen to meet up with any of his family. I'm not sure why.
It's safe to say that I'm not related to your Mr. Whitber. I was hoping that he would be able to attend, but not even I can tell you what's going to happen at all times.
I think Henry will look up at Neely and kind of tug on her clothing a little, and as she leans down, he just looks over at the quails and, "I can smell the love."
Neely grabs a quail and sort of plays with it a bit to like make Henry think that they're interested. What do you mean about time? Do you know of us and what we're doing? And what do you have to talk with us about?
As you ask that, she goes, let's have a little bit of food, have a little drink, and then I'd be happy to talk through what I have to offer."
Henry's already sat down.
And she's pouring out a drink to you, and that drink is whatever you're thinking of having. So if you're thinking of having tea, it would be tea. If you're thinking of wine, it would be a glass of wine. It's all coming from the same bottle, but it's exactly what you were thinking of drinking.
This is the freshest squilk I've ever tasted.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Neely had been going to avoid eating or drinking anything, but as the steaming squilk splashes in her glass, she can't resist.
It's still warm.
And Astrakan, are you also enjoying squilk? I was hoping for some imagination from one of you at least.
I am not having fresh squilk, not even so fresh it's warm. Who knows how that happens?
Sour curdled squilk, the way the nomads do it.
No, I was thinking of having a for reasons that are unclear to me, the thought that came to me as this strange elf started to pour was a tea that my mother used to make when I was a child. It's sort of a pomegranate and ginger infusion. And I've never had anyone else make it quite right. It's just one of those things that's been passed down in my family. Unfortunately, even I don't know how to make it quite right, so I haven't had it in years. And it's almost distressing that I now have a cup of this tea, which is perfect, unexpectedly and impossibly perfect.
And that's the part. It's not just the drink; it's also you're drinking almost the memory of this drink, right? That's exactly what's happening there.
Yep.
She kind of frets about it. I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know if you need anything else. If you reach for the tray, and again, you're thinking of a particular food that would pair with whatever it is you're drinking, it's there. So if it's warm squilk, I imagine it's some form of cookies or cupcakes, muffins, whatever you care to imagine.
I think it's the carrot cake from earlier, but it has love in it.
It's not just a commercial replication.
Yeah.
As you guys propose, she's doing the same. What she's eating, you can't quite work out what it is. Like it looks a bit cakey-ish, but it's quite dry. So you're not quite sure exactly what it is that they're having. But every time they kind of go for it from a plate, you guys can't see what it is originally. But the drink that they're drinking is red, so some form of red wine, presumably. Now, the reason why I brought the three of you here, I'm sorry it can only be for a short time, is because I had an offer that I wanted to make to you all. Now, I know what the biggest threat is to the cities above the sky, and I can tell you who it is, I can tell you where it is, and I can tell you how to stop it. And I'm happy to provide you with all of this information, but just all in exchange for a future favor.
I think with a mouthful of food, Henry says, "What's a favor?"
Well, that's the thing, dear. I'm not rightly sure at the moment. I mean, I'm offering to give this to you all in credit.
So, are you one?
Effectively, yes.
Okay. What if you need something that's outside our capabilities in return?
Well, that wouldn't be much of a bargain for me then, would it, if I'm asking you to do something you can't do?
What if you're asking us to do something that we physically could do but would find morally reprehensible?
Well, again, that would be problematic, but I'm sure we can have that discussion at the time.
Yeah, that sounds like an engineer, actually.
Well, the other possibility could be that we wait until you're useful to me, but at that point, it may well be too late for you to be able to do anything with the information I can provide.
I have a question. Actually, I have a lot of questions, but one particularly relevant question.
By all means.
Who are you? What are you?
Henry leans over. Her name's Blue. She said that before.
Yes, but if she was just a random elf, she wouldn't be able to make this. I hold up the tea. This is not a thing that a random person in Bastion will be able to give me. I don't know who can or what can, but this is not normal. There is something going on here.
Maybe the bottle is like one of those bottles, like those teapots where if you put your finger over a certain thing, it pours out a different thing of tea. So they had a finger on the right part of the bottle where it would pour out squilk for two people. And
the assassin's teapot.
So as you ask that, they kind of get a smile on their face. Well, you're right. Not everybody could bring you here. Not everybody could provide you what I have. You're not incorrect there. You're also correct in that I'm not the normal elf. As I said, my name is Blue. I'm sometimes known as the Blue Sister. If you like, you can roll a 2d6 to see if that stirs any memories for you.
I'll give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that my chances are great. The Blue Sister, was that a robot? Yeah, that's a 4 and a 1.
So there's some fairy tales about a blue woman or a blue woman, but you can't remember any details. Nothing's kind of going into your brain past that. So you can't remember what they were. You can't remember what the stories were. But it's just like, like hearing about a white rabbit in our times. Like there's hundreds of stories of white rabbits. Why is that kind of ringing a bell?
So Neely says, frankly, I don't really care who you are, and I don't really care what the price you ask might be. The world as we know it is a threat. I think that if we wait too much longer, many things we value will be lost. I'll take your bargain.
Very well. The rest of you, I assume the rest of you agree?
Henry kind of looks sheepishly down and says, I don't know if I'll be able to help you. I have to be a hero in other ways. He looks down sadly at his hands, twiddles his thumbs.
But Henry, without you, our party is like the bakery treats. We need the love, Henry. You're the love.
Yeah, but there's other people that need me as well, like Dimitri.
At this point, the blue lady reaches out to you, puts a hand on your shoulder. It's cool. It doesn't have the normal warmth that radiates it, but it's still somehow soothing. It says, Henry, at this point, you are where you need to be, with people that you need to be with. In the future, that will change. But for now, you're on the right step. You're taking the right steps.
Okay, I guess. So you need me too? Is that what you're saying?
That would be a stretch, but I'm sure your friends could use your help.
Okay.
Burn.
Henry reaches for another handful of pastries, so much so that the expanded cheeks hold in the tears from his eyes from blown out cheeks.
I have this feeling like I'll regret it, but sure, I'll take this bargain along with everyone else. And I'll volunteer Mr. Woodbury to take it too.
Very well. So, the problem is a creature known as Odiron. They are a dragon, and they have been planning on provoking battles and wars between the dragons and your people. At this point, they have spawned dozens, if not hundreds, of eggs within their lair. And when those eggs hatch, they will have an army of whelplings and dragonlings that they will then plan to take through to Bastion, to us here, in your capital, and then moving on to the rest of the cities. And there will be that many hungry and utterly loyal little dragonlings going with Odorin along the way. And once that spawn is hatched, there'll be no stopping them.
Henry, mouth agape, just swallows the food in his mouth and just... Is Odiron a dragon himself?
They are.
Okay.
So to stop this, we need to stop the eggs from hatching?
You would need to reach to stop them before the eggs hatch. That's correct. If the eggs just hatch naturally, the whelps would fall on each other and effectively kill each other until there's only one or two survivors left and not be a threat to anyone else. But if Odiron's, as a parent, able to control their will, then they would be following their orders.
So you said you could tell us how to stop this. Is that the extent of it, or is there more?
Well,
Neely's eyes are hard.
The Athenaeum that you visited earlier, they were robbed of a ballista, of a large crossbow powerful enough to pierce dragon hide. It was stolen by dragon worshippers who have been collecting weapons capable of killing dragons in order to protect their god, who they believe to be their gods. Now, this ballista is too strong to go on your own ship, but if you would have mounted on the Hope and Grace, is that correct? You'd be able to plant it aside from there, and that would make it an even fight.
And can you tell us where this Darren is?
As you ask that, they hand over a piece of paper, and on it there's 2 marks. So one of them is off to the west, the area where the dragons lay. It would be about a 1-week trip from the kind of safe area of where humans control, and they indicate that that's where Odarin is. And there's another place, it's about a day's travel from where you are now, and she says, this is where the ballista is. This is where the dragon worshippers have built a temple and are hiding these artifacts.
All right. Excellent.
Can you tell us more about the dragon worshippers? Are there many or few?
There's enough. I'm not too sure of the numbers. They've been very good at hiding themselves and staying within their grounds. I believe last I heard that there were about 30 or so. It's a cult, but they're a dangerous cult, and they've managed to infiltrate even the FNA to be able to steal what they wanted.
Henry, go on.
No, go, Henry.
Like Henry, a bit shocked by it all, is just, so you need us to take down the big dragon so that all the other dragons won't fall under his reign and destroy everything. But that big dragon has been killing the other big ships, all our other blimps. They've been going down because of, was it Odarin himself?
Well, those ships didn't have the ballista. They didn't have what you will have in your fight.
Okay. He looks down at this, the pieces of paper he's still holding in his hand, and rethink he's like, well, maybe I could go live with my parents. What do you say, Neely? You're basically our captain.
I think we need to make a decision if we want to go for this ballista ourselves or take this information back to the Hope and Grace.
I can tell you that if you do not move quickly to retrieve the ballista, they may well move it to another location and it will be lost.
And you don't.
They're trying to stop God killers. The fact that they're holding on to it in this location at all is foolhardy. It's overconfidence, but they may wisen up at any moment.
You don't want to join us, do you, Blue?
I've done what I can.
Feels pretty paltry.
Why do you say it feels like chickens?
Did you? I wasn't aware that you had better options before I invited you here.
Well, there are even better options where you join us. You can't blame a person for trying. Okay, well then we better move.
I feel like we should use your communication amulet to communicate to the Hope and Grace to come and join us there, since even if we manage to get the ballista, we can't put it on the shiny beetle. Which means...
They can't fire from the shiny beetle, but you can carry it.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a good plan, though. We need to get Mr. Whipper talking. But for all we know, the Hope and Grace may be far from here.
Well, we probably need to know where it is anyway if we want to take the ballista to it. And who knows, there might be other weapons that are dragon piercing that we could put on the shiny beetle as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if they've been taking things to try and stop people taking down dragons, it seems only fair. I mean, it's probably going to be easier to take down a collection of people or creatures than a dragon itself.
I also feel like if we tell the captain about this, then if we fail, at least someone will have the potential to go after the cult anyway.
That's very clever.
I'm just wondering whether we might want to infiltrate as cult members rather than trying to storm a cult with 30 members with just the 4 of us.
That is better than my idea, which was to try to make an illusion of a dragon to distract them.
I do like that as well. Perhaps we should go back to the ship and speak with Mr. Whitber.
Probably. He is usually the smartest of all of us.
So as you guys are having this conversation, you suddenly realize you've been walking in the streets of Bastion, and in fact are just about to arrive at the inn that you left Mr. Whitbeer at.
But I didn't pack any quail
Weird.
for the road.
Henry's thinking, damn, I wanted the recipe.
Whoa. So I look up startled. Yeah, I guess. Did we dream that?
I don't think so. I've still got breadcrumbs in my teeth.
So I don't know my companions, if any of you are religious, but I feel like maybe we should be.
So you've got your glasses that you were drinking from, and you've got the map that she gave you.
Oh, and my teeth are still blue from the squid milk.
Yes, still has a pencil-thin line mustache of milk.
Okay, Neely steps with renewed purpose. Like, this is the best lead we've had. It's a hard plan, but it's a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Whitber, we signed you up for a debt to what might or might not be a fairy or possibly a deity. But we know what's causing the problems now. And we can go somewhere that your family are not going to be able to find you.
You are what?
So this
That's a lot of information to lay on a person.
This strange blue lady kind of dream kidnapped us and then offered us a bargain where she'd tell us what was going on and how to fix it, and we'll all owe her a favor sometime in the future. But it's dragons. The dragon is like, there's a dragon that's laying a lot of eggs, and we have to go and get a ballista from a cult.
She kind of have like a tent when you went inside. You could see the stars.
How do you know that?
Oh, God.
What do you know of her?
Yeah, don't worry about that either.
Is that your
Henry
mom?
just looks up at her. It's like, he's so wise.
I know. Have you been sneaking like a secret view into what Darling's looking at?
No. What?
Oh, just to avoid this coming up later, Darling didn't come into the tent.
What?
Huh.
Your golem is here the whole time.
No, they just, when Astrakhan walked in, the robot didn't follow. But then when you started walking back, it was right next to Astrakhan like they normally are.
Huh.
Weird.
Mr. Whipper, do you know anything about this blue lady? The blue sister.
Oh, let's see if my extra dice gets me anything here.
Yeah, roll me an educated roll.
You're educated.
Hey, look at that. A 6, 6, and a 5.
Whoa.
Whoa. So smart.
We should have had you with us this whole time.
Yeah, but there's goblins out there.
You're still a goblin, Mr. Whitber.
There's goblins in here. So, Mr. Whitbo, the information that I assume you're going to pass on is that yes, there's lots of fables and stories about blue ladies, but one of the things that you've kind of your reading is kind of pulled as being fact from fiction is that they are in fact a very powerful fae, one of 3 sisters. This one is often seen. The blue one is often associated with being around mountaintops and can often be seen with air hunters. There's kind of legends of them guiding them to bigger kills and things like that. The usual rules of Fae seem to apply to them. They cannot lie. If they invite you to a meal, it all has to be above board. They have to be the best hosts, and will follow the rules of guesthood accordingly. There's occasional tales that they will trick you. They can't lie, but that doesn't mean that you heard everything that you think you heard, or that they said everything that you think they said. So there's always this kind of undercurrent of, yeah, sure, we made a promise, but what's really happening there type thing. One of the other kind of questions that kind of comes up with these as well, I'm giving you a lot because you got 3 successes, is that there seems to be some confusion as to whether or not these particular 3 Fae are so old that they created the world or were created along with it. Basically, they're one of the first things ever made, according to legend.
How much of that do you share?
The whole thing, but in a more esoteric way, and making you drag every single detail out of me.
Nice.
So completely in character then.
So Henry now believes that a god has asked him to do a task, and in his mind,
You're paladin now, Henry.
Yeah, it outranks his brother, and so I think he will be. He'll just say to everyone, "I'll be right back," and he runs down the street and heads to the post office. And he ends up writing this letter, and it just says, "Dear Mum and Dad, sorry I can't come home yet. Love, Henry." And then seals it in to the Burgermeister of Mountaina, and he's like, "Here, please send this off for me." And a new sense of joy, and runs back to the ship with a smile on his face.
Him, like a zoom out of the ear. It's like, you reckon he's going to be all right? What's got into him all of a sudden?
I told you he needed an adventure.
What did you do to him?
We fed him quail. Actually, the blue lady fed him quail.
Oh.
You don't approve of quail, Mr. Whitber?
Yeah, I just don't think you should eat anything that strange, women give you in mystical, magical tents.
Watery tarts lurking in ponds, throwing swords at people.
That's exactly where I thought you were going with that.
Yeah, well, look, Henry's the one who's most likely to make a watery tart, but
it'll be salted water. Okay.
I think as he's running back to the ship, he runs into Mr. Whitber, and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Whitber, it's so good to see you. What are you doing outside the ship?" And he doesn't realize it's one of the brothers.
Oh no! Nearly kind of grabs Henry almost by the collar and like drags him onto the ship. Like, we don't have time to waste. It's a day away and likely to move soon. We've got to get going.
Are we taking Mr. Whitber though? Why is he over there with a whisk?
I think that's Mr. Whiskber.
Oh, high and mightiness that he's alluding before is just shot to him.
Yeah. I see the other goblin on the dock, and I just quickly untie the ship.
Still leaning out the window, tapping his guys. Time to go, people!
What time of day is it, Dan? Is it?
So it's just after dinner time. So I'll assume Mr. Whitber had his dinner while you guys were out, and you effectively had your meal as well. So you guys can start taking off and get part of the way there before you need to make camp.
Quick! Let's go. We gotta get out of the city to track down this whatever it was thing.
Cult.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Dangerous cults.
So with
of goblins,
enthusiasm, excitement, sense of purpose, etc., you guys take off and in your dragonfly and start heading towards the point on the map. there's got to be another epilogue, I think, at this point.
Love it.
It's just
love
me
the
and
epilogue.
the other goblin on the docks just staring at each other.
Henry's looking out the window. We forgot Mr. Whit. I mean, yeah. Looks back and sees Mr. Whitmer sitting there.
So as you guys take off, there's a few things happening all around. The first is that there is a goblin walking that was about to reach your ship just before you took off. They've got a nicely decorated envelope with the words written on the front, "Dearest brother." It looked like some kind of invitation. Elsewhere, there is a dragon's lair. And as you look around inside of it, you see not just the floors, but along the walls and even up on the roof, dozens, hundreds of eggs. And you can even see that some of them have got shapes inside of them already.
Pulsing in the gloom.
Like barbecue shapes, or
Oh, Ned.
And behind all of that, all you hear is the steady breathing of a large creature. And that's it.
Nicely done. What a roller coaster of an emotion episode.
Wow, Henry.
Oh,
had
that
an
was
arc.
cool.